There is a version of a person that works so well, nobody ever has to see what's underneath it. Not the people around him, and not eventually the man himself. Not because there's nothing there, because being seen was never worth the risk. There was no lie to catch him in. What he feared was simpler and harder, being seen directly with nothing standing in the way. Sonny Liston knew exactly who he was. He just never let anyone see it. In 1962, he became the most feared man in America. A menace, untouchable, the kind of man people cross the street to avoid. The morning he won the title that made all of that official, he knelt alone in a church. Not the monster. Just a man praying quietly the way monsters don't. No reporter filed it. No camera caught it. Nobody ever saw who he actually was. That was always the plan. In September of 1953, a 21-year-old ex-convict sat down to sign his first professional contract. No legitimate backer would touch him. The men who did had names that made people in the boxing business lower their voices. He signed anyway. What he said while he signed it was recorded and repeated for the rest of his career. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do. He meant the fight instructions. It became the terms of his entire life. He never learned to read. Not as a child, not later, not ever. He signed contracts he could not read the terms of. He could not read a newspaper about himself. This followed him into every room he walked into for the rest of his life. And it never stopped being a shame he didn't know how to put down. In 1962, he won the heavyweight championship, knocking out Floyd Patterson, the reigning champion and the first man in history to regain a lost heavyweight title in the first round. Nobody had ever done that before. Philadelphia gave him nothing for it. No parade, no motorcade, no hero's welcome for its own new champion. Winning didn't change what got printed about him. People who actually knew him. The ones who trained with him, the ones who spent time in rooms no reporter ever entered, used different words. Generous, a soft spot for children, someone who'd give you the last thing he had if he liked you. Jet magazine ran one photograph that told a different story. Liston head bowed in prayer beside his priest. The white papers had the same access. None of them ran it. Nobody profits from a monster who turns out to be kind. By 1962, there were two versions of Sonny Liston. One was true. Only one of them got read. It began years before the championship. The verdict came first. The evidence got collected afterward to support a decision that had already been made. His backers needed him legible. A menace with a face and a jab was commercially useful. Whether the menace was accurate wasn't a question anyone with a financial stake had reason to ask. Nobody ever saw the other version. Nobody had a reason to. The press didn't build the character. They inherited it, pre-assembled, easy to print. The other man. The one who went to church on fight mornings, the one people who actually knew him called generous, the one with a soft spot for kids. Never had a room to appear in. In 1964, he lost his title to Muhammad Ali, staying on his stool after the 6th round, claiming a shoulder injury. Officials withheld his purse until a doctor examined him and confirmed it. The injury was real. It didn't matter. Monsters don't get hurt. Monsters don't quit. A doctor's word couldn't fix a story that never had room for either one. The record was never open for correction. It was only ever open for confirmation. You have built a character like this one too. One so convincing, nobody's seen what's underneath it in years. Not because it's gone, because you stopped letting them look. He said it once, at 21, signing his name. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do. It became the only rule he ever really lived by. You never said it out loud. Nobody made you sign anything. But somewhere, a work dinner, 3 drinks in, a joke that wasn't funny. You laughed first and loud, felt the table relax around you, and understood. This works, keep doing this. You've been agreeing to the same terms for years, and there's no piece of paper to show for it, which is exactly why it's never once felt like an agreement. Once a version works, it stops asking anything of you except that you don't contradict it. The trap isn't that the version fails. The trap is that it keeps working. Liston walked into 2 different rooms his whole life. The church pew, the press conference. 2 rooms, 2 versions, and he never once told either one it was wrong. You do this too in smaller rooms. In public, you're sharper, quick, certain, easy to be around. It's had years of practice. Alone, there's a different version, the one nobody else gets to see. You know exactly who it is. You've just stopped letting it out. You've started to wonder what would happen if you did. You haven't let it happen long enough to find out. Nobody had to wonder about Liston. They just asked him. Reporters asked Liston who he really was. He gave them a record, a stat line, something they could print and file and move on from. He never once tried to correct what they already believed, even in rooms where he could have. He'd learned to contain satisfies a question a real answer never could. When someone asks who you are, you tell them what you do. A title, a role, something they can hold on to. You were asked one question. You answered a different one. You don't notice in the moment that you did. Sonny Liston died alone. Nobody thought to check for days. Not because no one loved him, but because nothing about him had ever asked to be checked on. Whatever got said about him afterward wasn't about him. It couldn't be. Nobody had ever seen enough of him to say anything true. That's the actual cost of never being seen. Not loneliness. Being mourned as someone you never let yourself be. You're running the same arrangement right now. If it ended today, how much of what anyone said about you would actually be about you?